This is the Master's Harvest, video number 3, Second Esdras Rulers. Today is January 11, 2024. I'm your host, Daniel Berglund. Our objective today is to determine where we are on God's prophetic timeline. I'll be using the scriptural resources of 2nd Esdras, chapters 11 and 12, and also the book of Revelation, chapter 20. We will begin with 2nd Esdras, chapter 11. In chapter 11, verse 1, Ezra has a dream. It says, "On the second night I had a dream, and behold, there came up from the sea an eagle that had 12 feathered wings and 3 heads." From the context of the chapter, we learn that this eagle is the fourth beast empire, and that the 12 wings are 12 rulers who rule or reign in that empire. These rulers have 3 characteristics. 1, they serve one after another at the levers of power. Number 2, only one block of time is allocated for each ruler. And number 3, the second ruler rules longer than any of the others. In addition to the 12 wings, there are more wings. Verse 3 tells us, "And I looked, and out of his wings there grew opposing wings, but they became little puny wings." Later on, in verse 11, it documents, "And I counted his opposing wings, and behold, there were 8 of them." The 8 wings are different from the 12 wings. In verses 20 and 21, we have, "And I looked, and behold, in due course the wings that followed also rose up on the right side in order to rule. There were some of them that ruled, yet disappeared suddenly, and others of them rose up, but did not hold the rule." So these are not guaranteed rulers. Some of them rule, and some of them try to rule, but do not rule. Sounds like politicians who are campaigning for an office. Some win and some lose. The story of the 8 little wings is told in verses 22 through 31. It ends, however, with the last 2 little wings attempting to reign and being devoured by one of the eagle heads that woke up. So it seems that we've got 8 political candidates and a 9th political candidate in the middle eagle head battling it out for who gets to be ruler. In a nutshell, we have 8 little wings plus a middle eagle head being 9 politicians who engage in 5 political contests, 3 of whom win and 6 of whom lose. I will cover that in the next video in great detail. But for now, recognize that in addition to the 12 wings, we've got 3 winners from the 8 wings plus the middle eagle head for a total of 12 plus 3 or 15 wings, which represent 15 rulers. Now that we have 15 rulers, 2 additional characteristics apply. We find them in verse 21 of chapter 12. It says, "And 2 of them shall perish when the middle of the time draws near," and this is the important part, "and 4 shall be kept for the time when its end approaches," and now very importantly, "but 2 shall be kept until the end." We're interested in the 4 that should be kept until the end of the middle time approaches, and the 2 who shall be kept until the end. We now turn our attention to trying to identify the line of rulers. We'll just go look at history. Let's start with Alexander the Great. When Alexander the Great lived, he lived 32 years and then he died. He went into battle with 4 generals behind him to do his bidding. However, when he died at the age of 32, those 4 generals took his conquest and divided into 4 parts. Each one of them became a king over an individual fourth of the kingdom. So this does not follow the characteristics of the timeline that we're calling out in 2nd Esdras, chapter 11. Well, maybe it's the Roman emperors. They rule one after another, right? Yes, but when the line of Roman emperors came to an end, Did the ages come to an end? No, they didn't, because we're still here. So it's not the Roman emperors. Well, maybe it's the popes. No, it can't be the popes either. You see, it says that 4 of them should be kept until the middle time approaches. But we've never ever had 4 popes alive all at the same time. 2, yes. But most often it's just 1 pope, then that pope dies and another pope is elected. But never have we gotten 4. So it's not the line of popes. Well, perhaps it's Israel. No, it can't be Israel either. I'm assuming that you've heard of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's the current Prime Minister of Israel. He's been Prime Minister 3 times with spaces where he's not Prime Minister. So he's been at the levers of power and then away from the levers of power and at the levers of power and away from the levers of power. So that means that he's not following the timeline pattern that we've laid out for this 12 rulers. It turns out that it can't fit because they serve only 1 time at the levers of power, not multiple times. Or perhaps it's Russia. No, with Russia we have the same problem. Vladimir Putin was president of Russia from 2000 to 2008, but then Medvedev took over for 4 years from 2008 to 2012, at which time Putin came back to the levers of power and continues to reign as president in Russia to this day. So he was away from the levers of power and came back to the levers of power. He had more than 1 turn at the levers of power, so it's not him. Well, maybe it's China. No, it's not China either. You see, China hasn't had 15 rulers in its Communist Party dictator form of government. It's had 11, and the 11th is reigning to this day. So it's not China because there simply aren't enough rulers to fit the pattern. So I ask you, who do you think that this could be? These things that we've called out here where we've got 12 rulers. The second one rules longer than the others. And then there's political contests that come after that among 8 additional candidates. Who would that fit? In my opinion, the 12 rulers, the 15 rulers for that matter, are presidents of the United States. When we look at the defining characteristic of the 12 rulers, the second one rules longer than all the others. On the United States line of presidents, that would be FDR. He was elected to the office of president 4 times. If he's the second ruler or the second president, then the president before him was number 1, that would be Hoover. And if we count 12 presidents forward, we go from Hoover to Clinton. After Clinton, there are 3 additional presidents who are elected from among the 8 political candidates, plus 1 eaglehead. They are George Bush Jr., Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. There are 5 remaining presidents: Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, George Bush Jr., and Barack Obama. But what's interesting about them is how old they are. Jimmy Carter is 99, Bill Clinton is 77, Donald Trump is 77, George Bush Jr. is 77, and Barack Obama is 62. The next question that we're left to ponder is, how long will it be before all of these ex-US presidents will be dead? You heard their ages. If you attribute to them a normal span of human years, it won't be very long now. Remember, 2 of them have to reach the end before they die. I'll use my hand as an illustration. We'll assume that this is the time before the millennium. This is the millennium. This is the short season that follows the millennium. And this is the forever kingdom that comes next. It's described in Revelation chapters 21 and 22. If we have 2 ex-presidents on this period of time, we ask ourselves, when do they come to an end? Well, the end would be over here in the end of the short season, where the Great White Throne Judgment occurs. But that would mean that these men would have to continue living all the way through 1,000 years, plus however much more time there would be for the short season that follows in order to get to the end. And that just makes them logically impossible. You cannot have a man live more than 1,000 years, not as a normal human being. So we cannot currently be here before the millennium. Well, perhaps we're over here in the forever kingdom. In the forever kingdom, men no longer die, but we know from our own experience that men died yesterday, men will die tomorrow, men died today. We're certainly not living in a time when men no longer die, so we eliminate that as well. And it leaves us with just 2 choices. We're either in the millennium or we're in the short season that follows the millennium. I contend that we can't be in the millennium because we allow things like abortion in this time. And if it turned out that we were living under the rule of Jesus Christ on earth, we wouldn't have abortion. So I'm logically eliminating the millennium as well. That leaves us now with just one choice. We've got the short season, and that's where we live. Let's return to the book of Revelation, chapter 20. In my opinion, we have finished up chapter 20, verse 7, where the 1,000 years are ended and Satan has been loosed from prison. But I also believe that the short season is coming to an end because the presidents who have to make it to the end are very old men and they won't last much longer. And that brings us to the end of today's study. Until we meet again in the next video, blessings to you and your loved ones.